Hey everybody, my name is Chef Tony. I own Tony Caters in San Jose. We're a custom event catering production company, but we're also offering these really cool virtual team building experiences. I'm so excited that you guys have decided to do one of these with us. So I want to talk a little bit about the Salsa Experience. So some of you may be doing this as just kind of a get together and a team building experience, and some of you might be doing this as a head-to-head challenge, which is actually being scored and you're doing presentations and all that sort of thing. Whichever direction your group is taking it, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully it kind of brings you guys together. And what I'm about to tell you about salsa and some of my tips and tricks, it doesn't matter if you're doing it as a competition or not, but the competition is a lot of fun. So the first thing is I want to talk to you about your kit. You guys certainly got all of these kits delivered to you. Hopefully it made a lot of sense and should have been complete with everything that we said we were going to be offering. There are some unique ingredients that are specific to your kit that some of your colleagues might not have. So that's going to be a little bit of an extra curveball, and you can incorporate that in to your final dish, of course, and you might incorporate that into your presentation if you guys are doing more of the competition route. But just know that there are some unique kind of special ingredients that are going to be specific to you or specific to a small group of you guys. So enjoy. That's kind of a fun curveball. So when it comes to the judging portion of it, if you guys are doing this as a head-to-head competition, I really want to encourage you to be original in the direction you take these ingredients. Pico de gallo is great. I love it, and it's an easy, just sort of a chopped fresh salsa. So you're probably not going to win if you give us a pretty run-of-the-mill pico de gallo. And if you're not doing it as a head-to-head and you're just sort of having some fun, I don't know if you're going to wow anybody with just a pico de gallo. That said, you might if you take it in a couple of different directions. So one of the ways would be in a presentation to really think about things that tie into your team, maybe your company's product, something about your division. You might give it a unique name that's specific to a product you guys represent, something like that. So something, you might be sort of a little bit more of a basic salsa, but you have done something really clever tied into what you guys do. So that's something to think about. You might add a little bit of extra technique. So it's pico de gallo, but maybe there's a roasted component or there's something sort of special about your cut, something like that. So there are definitely ways to elevate something that's kind of basic into something that might be an award-winning salsa. So bear that in mind as well. The other thing is we've provided some of these unique ingredients in some of the kits. There's certainly nothing stopping any of us. We're not in your kitchen. There's nothing stopping any of us from you going in your pantry or your refrigerator and taking this in a totally different direction. So if yours is, cumin, roasted, whatever, if yours is a lobster pico de gallo because there's just tons of lobster sitting in your kitchen from last night, we can't stop you. Have fun. It is what it is. So you definitely can think of things to do to jazz up whatever style of salsa you make in a way that either gets you some bragging rights in your group or hopefully helps you win a competition if you guys are doing this as a competition. So bear that in mind as well. Definitely originality and creativity, and of course presentation, right? Think about how you're going to package this up as you're showing this off to your colleagues. So the first, they're kind of, when I think of salsa, I think of three main categories, I guess, that salsa falls in. The first one is salsa fresca, which is for sure the pico de gallo style, right? Just the fresh kind of chopped, definitely lime juice, definitely, good hit of salt to amplify some of those kind of one-note flavors. But this is kind of the general category. Salsa fresca, it can be blended for sure, but, I think of kind of a chunky, fresh pico de gallo style. And so not much more to say about that, but I do want to give you some technique as you go into this. So I'm going to show you how I like to chop cilantro and how I like to cut an onion, which of course can be a challenge for some people. So first with the cilantro, so you want to take your cilantro and you want to wash it really well, and then actually you want to dry it off really well. That's going to definitely give you cleaner cuts if it's nice and dry, and it's not going to bruise. Sometimes you can, if your knife isn't sharp and maybe the cilantro is wet, you definitely can bruise it and it's just not as vibrant. I like to wash it and then actually just kind of shake off the water so it's nice and dry. You don't necessarily need to even towel dry it. And then I'm going to sort of keep the stems kind of to the back end. So I have the stems kind of bunched up and away from me. I'm focusing on the leaves. And what I'm actually going to do is I like to actually just chop the leaves off and be done with it. or sorry, the stems. Sorry, chop those off. But I'm gonna roll this up. So I'm actually, as I come at it, I'm just kind of rolling this into a tight bunch. And then I'm gonna take my knife, and it's gonna be similar when I cut the onion. I like to keep the tip of the knife on the board. And I'm actually just gonna kind of rock. I'm gonna rock and roll through the cilantro. I'm keeping my fingers out of the way, of course. I'm getting nice clean cuts to kind of slice right through it and not bruise it for sure, like I mentioned. And then I'm gonna make my way, I'm kind of pushing it out of my fingers towards the knife as I go through. And that's kind of my first run through it. And that actually did a pretty good job. That's almost enough. But then what I'm gonna do, and this might not be comfortable for you guys that aren't really experienced with the knives, and some of you guys might blow me out of the water with your knife skills, I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you what I do. I like to keep that tip of the knife on the board, and I'm actually resting my fingers right on the top. And I'm actually just gonna kind of rock and slide my way through the cilantro. I'm gonna use the knife to kind of keep bunching it up into a little mound. And I'm just gonna kind of make my way through the cilantro. If you want, you can kind of clean the knife off as you go, kind of mound it back up. And again, I'm just, really for me, the biggest part of the technique here is keeping the tip of the knife right on the board, and I'm just kind of rocking through. You see that my board is sliding a little bit. I should have done this, but you can take a wet paper towel or kind of a damp paper towel and put it under the board, and that'll limit your board from sliding around so much. So I'm just gonna kind of slice and dice my way through the cilantro. Take it as far as you want in terms of chopping that up. And now I'm just gonna park this in a bowl. And we'll use that in a couple of different ways. This is kind of a pico de gallo style that I'm starting, salsa fresca. So I'm actually gonna drop a little bit of the cilantro in here. I'll just get started with a lime as well. So lime is gonna be, I mean, you guys have all had salsa. We're not recreating the wheel here, but lime is gonna be a big factor in really bumping up the vibrancy of your salsa. So you can roll your lime on the tabletop if you want before you cut it. This is a pretty juicy lime, so I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of lime now. That should be enough for now. We'll check it for taste at the very end. I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of salt. You'll dice a chili into this if you want a spicy salsa, so you don't need pepper for sure. You would just traditionally, I guess I would say, you would get the heat not from black pepper, you would get it from the chilies that you're including. For a salsa like this, you definitely would go with a fresh chili like jalapeno. I love big chunks of jalapeno right in there. So these are representative chilies that you would see in your kit. So we have jalapeno and then some dried chilies. So these are chili guajillo. And this is chile de árbol. You guys probably have heard the smaller the chili, the bigger the punch that they pack. So bear that in mind flavor-wise. So again, for the salsa fresca, I would definitely use fresh jalapeno. Or fresh chili, let me say. Some of you might see some different, more exotic chilies in your kits, but fresh chili would make the most sense here. So that's really salsa fresca. Let me show you the onion piece of it. So kind of the butt end of the onion and the stem end of the onion. I'm gonna cut in half lengthwise through both ends. So you'll see on the bottom here I have kind of the root end, and here I have the stem end. I'm gonna cut the stem end off, as you see here. So I still have the root end, and now I have the stem end. It has a clean cut. I'm gonna peel this back. I'm gonna peel everything back so I get to the nice kind of yellow white of the onion. And again, the root end is intact. And what I'm gonna do, this is a little hard to show. You guys may have seen this, or you may just do this in your kitchen already. So I'm gonna make slices through the onion in this direction. So I'll do that first. I'm gonna keep my hand up nice and high so I don't run the risk of cutting myself. I'm gonna make some clean slices through the onion, just kind of some quick, you're not gonna saw through, you're just gonna kind of make quick slices through your onion. So I've done that a couple of times, you can see. Now I'm gonna go the other direction. So I'm actually gonna go kind of right across the top of my onion. Again, kind of clean slices. We're not gonna saw. We definitely don't wanna cut ourselves. We're gonna keep our fingers out of the way. I'm not gonna saw, I'm just gonna making some slices down. And I'll show you what I've done there. So now I've gone, you can see that really well. I've gone both directions. And then now, again, might not be teaching you something you don't know. I'm gonna cut across the onion. And as I do, the dices just kind of fall. So we're ending up with a nice dice of onion. Okay, so I'm gonna drop those in there. Okay, and then you'd keep going with your pico de gallo and mix that up when you're ready. The next one, this is probably my favorite. So this is salsa ranchera. And the idea here is that there are cooked elements, and you can add fresh elements at the end, but there are cooked elements that are really giving this kind of salsa a depth of flavor. This would be blended for the most part, though it can end up chunky. But a salsa ranchera just has that depth, whether it's a roasted flavor from the oven or even from a grill top. So I'm actually gonna show you, earlier I took some of the ingredients from the kit and I put them in a 400-degree oven. In this case, I really love using cast iron skillets. I put them in a 400-degree oven. You'll see I kind of scored the top of the tomato, so it's real easy for the peel to come off because I don't want to blend that up in there. I even did the garlic right in the shell, in the paper, so you can squeeze that out, and then you can decide whether or not you want the seeds from your jalapeno. That'll dictate how spicy, of course, your salsa is. But this is just giving you that depth and roasted kind of flavor. In this case, I roasted. Certainly you could do it on a grill pan. So I have another flat cast iron grill pan here. I certainly could do it that way as well. But I would take all these elements. In my case, I'm gonna put them in my blender. So I'm gonna get a very blended, but still kind of chunky salsa with body. And then I'm going to add, actually, the way I like it, I'm gonna add some fresh cilantro and lemon juice at the end. So there is a little bit of a fresh element as well. So that's a salsa ranchera. You can take it a million directions. You can add nuts, you can add some fruit, you can add some spices, all sorts of things, but it's kind of a broad category, the salsa ranchera. The last one is salsa taquera, and that is, by design, that is very pureed, very thin salsa, and certainly you can thin any of these with water as you think you need. But that's a very thin salsa, and again, that could be roasted. Or not. It could have fresh elements. You could actually boil the tomato and the chilies and the garlic. That's pretty typical. You could boil, pull them out, and you could blend those. A lot of people would actually use that boiling liquid to actually thin the salsa as they need. And so I'm actually, in this case, for a salsa like that, I'm going to take a dried chili, and I'm actually going to reconstitute them right on the grill pan. So this is going to take me a little while. Every 30 seconds or so, I'm going to turn them over. You'll notice that the dried chilies actually get very pliable as they warm up, and you can rip them open, get the seeds out of there, and then they'll blend beautifully with those fresh elements, or with the boiled elements, or even with these roasted elements as you start to puree them together. And again, for the salsa taquera, you're looking for a very thin sauce. You'll notice that those dried chilies, they don't seem like they will, but the dried chilies, once they're pliable from the toasting, and I'm really starting to smell those as they warm up here, you'll notice that they blend beautifully. So these are kind of broad categories, I would say: the salsa fresca, salsa ranchera, and the salsa taquera. Very broad categories for you to do whatever you want. Make it your own. Make it as spicy as you want. No one needs to eat it but you. You're at your house, and not the rest of your team. And make it your own, and then sell it. If you're doing a competition, sell it to the team and win the prize. So I'm going to get out of your hair. I'm going to let you guys do your thing. Have a lot of fun. Chef Tony from Tony Caters, thanks a lot for getting involved in our salsa making competition. Have a blast. Thank you so much.